September is an easy month to save when you shop the specials at Super Value and Quality supermarkets. Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatballs, 15 ounce, 159. Robin Hood flour, 5.5 pounds, 4.99. Super Value protein gas, 8 ounce, 199. Danish spare ribs, 2.89 per pound. Turkey wings, 1.89 per pound. Donate your change to help feed the Maine Society animals at Super Value and Quality supermarkets.
Dengue fever may cause a severe flu-like illness that can affect both adults and children. One way to protect yourself is to not get bitten by the mosquito that carries the virus. Repair any holes in windows and door screens where mosquitoes can get into your home. Dark and bold colors can attract mosquitoes.
Mixture of sun and cloud. The temperature at 90 degrees today, Fahrenheit, in the nation's capital. Low tonight of 78. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is our copy. They're being brought to you today by Rosalie's Takeaway. Paradise Air Conditioning on East Street. Mike and Steve on Soldier Road. The Perfume Box, Roger Providence. Viva Brown Seafood. Eaton Street in Chippenham. Platinum Pastries and Deli, Carmichael Road. Capital Lumber on Parkgate Road, Geneva Brass Seafood on Chippenham, as I said before. Also by Central Super Center, East Street North, Sandy's Cafe on Wolf Road, Rocky Farm Nursery on Seabreeze Lane, Cool Tech on Tony Williams Darling Highway, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarket, and they've got good buys every day right there at Super Value. McKinney Media Group gives Dane in Fort Charlotte, 32 gives Dane in Fort Charlotte. We do public relations right and advertisement right. Also by Ron's Electric Motors, Targe of Wolf Road, Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Down Lake Road and Rosetta Street in Palmdale. Super Wash, good.
Yes, I'm fine.
Locations everywhere to
Ready to get this show started.
and Advantage Shores and Groceries, 61 Collins Avenue. A new hospital for New Providence, upgrades to the hospital at Sandilands and the Rand in Grand Bahama, and upgrades in transportation for Family Island residents. Then again, there are many other problems that plagues the Bahamian people, and the COI believes it will not get any better if the same old practices continues to exist. Today, Chairman of the COI, Charlotte Green, and Shadow Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Veronica McIver, challenges the government to provide better health care for all residents throughout the Bahamas, and that they must get serious about this matter because health care is the biggest thing that should be happening in the country for the residents of the Bahamas. Health care is what they're talking about today. We have it all right now today, live with us on Hard Copy. And of course, we're looking at it's 5:22 in the afternoon. We're talking about healthcare today. We've got Dr. McIver on with us. So is the Charlotte Green, who is the shadow minister, who is the chairman of the party. And of course, the Dr. Veronica McIver is the shadow minister of health and wellness. If they're going to keep that same name, I don't know, but if they can do that, that's what she is. And certainly we're going to be talking with them today right here on the show because there are problems in healthcare. You heard the minister today talk about all kinds of stuff that's happening in healthcare. He talked about all kinds of things that they want to get done. And a lot of these things are basically promises. And that is because they're looking at trying to fix up the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center. And they're trying to fix up the Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama. And then they're looking at building a new hospital right here in the Bahamas. Now, Charlotte Green and company were on before Maria Daxon. They were here putting hell on the government a couple of weeks ago, well, a couple of months ago now. And they were saying that, look, we need a hospital here. Of course, that prompted the prime minister at that time, along with Dr. Dowell, to go out and investigate and see what they were talking about. And they went into the PMH. They saw just what they were talking about. The place was totally dilapidated. The prime minister said so. Dr. Dowell said so. They know that they have to rebuild the hospitals and they've got to create some new things in the Bahamas. Because healthcare is everybody's business, and they say the health of a nation is the wealth of the nation. We're looking at seeing how this healthcare situation could improve. We're not just talking about the healthcare, we're talking about all kinds of other things like national health insurance and all those other things that goes along with the upkeep of healthcare in our Bahamas. So today, we've decided that we're going to bring on the show today Dr. McIver, Charlotte Green, who has been here before to talk about some things. Dr. McIver is the first time up on the show, so we welcome you on board.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
And we're looking forward to what she has to say because she is now the shadow minister of health in the, let me see if I can get this right, in the Lincoln Bean administration. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
You have the Brave Davis administration. We're talking about the Lincoln Bean administration.
That's right.
And that is what people are thinking about you, believe it or not. So we're going to talk with them today about healthcare and all the goodness of healthcare in the Bahamas. And we're also going to delve into some other areas that may not be the best thing to deal with at this particular time, but we have to because it's a matter of knowing what the CIO wants to have happen in healthcare in our situation. Okay? So we're going to talk some other things as well. We're going to talk some other things as well, like politics and the rest of it, if we get a chance. But for the most part, we want to stick with the whole idea of this theme of healthcare in the Bahamas and talk about this. Okay? We're going to talk with Dr. McIver, and we're going to talk with Charlotte Green. Now, Charlotte, you were here before, so let me just introduce you first. How you been?
I have been wonderful, Steve. Still in the fight since the last time you saw me. I can't stop now.
You're still scrapping.
I'm still
I
scrapping.
tell you.
We have a country to save. We have to come up with solutions to the ills in our country. So we have a lot of work to do, and we have not stopped. This is a continuing situation that we're in, and we're here for the long haul.
It's been a hard run that you think for the people of the COI because I mean you've been getting a lot of exciting publicity. A lot of people like what the COI has been doing. They've offered their many candidates and their many members of their many ministers, their shadow ministers already, and people have been saying that that's impressive. And you've also offered people like Dr. McIver, who is, everybody knows who she is. I mean, she's a veteran in this field. She understands what's happening. She wants to see how best she can make this country a little bit better off. And she believes, I believe, that we're thinking that the COI is a group that will do it and make it for sure. What do you say, Doc?
Hello, Steve. First, let me just say it's a pleasure to be here for you inviting me on this show. And I would like to say hello to everybody who is listening in. Thank you so much. Steve, listen, yes, I've joined the Lincoln Bain troop,
Mhm.
and for a very good reason.
Understood. Mhm.
But today we're going to focus on health and other areas as well. I don't mind. But let me just say that health is a fundamental right for all Bahamians. And you started off by saying the wealth of a nation is related to the health of a nation.
Absolutely.
And I agree with you because when people are healthy, Steve, they
Everybody feel good.
think clearly, they
No
focus
question about
better.
it.
And guess what? In the workforce, they even work better.
No question about it.
And I want to say this as we go through today. I want to make a statement that the Coalition of Independence is different from the other mainstream parties in that we are going to shift power from the politicians to the people
Okay.
instead of the other way around.
Mhm.
And that's how it's
Which we've
been.
been so used to.
And I say that. I'll tell you why I say that. Recently, someone asked, I think Chester Cooper it was recently,
Mhm.
he said that, you all voted for us to manage the country, and we're going to manage it as we see
Yeah,
fit.
I remember seeing that
Well, guess
statement. I
what?
remember that. Mhm.
I disagree with that. It's not how you see fit. It's how the people want it done because you are servants of the people. Anybody know who, if you're a servant, you got to do what the master say.
Absolutely.
And if the people are the masters, how can he do it the way he see fit? No, you have to do it the way the people see fit. So we are going to engage our people, and that's one of the biggest differences
Okay.
between us
Mhm.
and the other two political, I'm going to say, dinosaurs.
So Charlotte Green, you hear what she is saying, and she seems to be right on the money with the kind of thinking that you want to bring about in this political body.
I
This
share,
grouping.
yes, I share the vision. We are all a part of one vision. And the only way for us to move forward together as an organization is if we share that same vision.
Okay.
And back to health, like Miss Dr. Veronica said, the health of the nation is the wealth of the nation. And it is the human right for people,
Mhm.
all people that is a part of this country to have access to not just healthcare, but good quality healthcare.
Mhm.
And Steve, one thing I can say, when we were hosting the blood drive initiative,
Okay.
I saw two posts. One post showed where during that blood drive we received information where one of our members had passed away
Is that right?
after surgery. No,
Mhm.
not after surgery, Steve.
Okay.
The surgery was successful.
Mhm.
She passed away because she did not have blood.
Is that right?
And we were there
That was the
having a
same day
blood
when you were trying
yes,
to do the blood drive
yes.
thing?
Steve, let me tell you something.
It's so
While we
ironic.
were there,
Mhm.
that touched a lot of people. That brought tears to a lot of our eyes.
Understood.
That was a life that we could have saved. And I feel like no one in this country, Steve, no one
Mhm.
should have to pass away for something so simple. Something
All she
that
needed- all she needed
all
was
she
blood.
needed was blood. She was a mother, a sister, a aunt, a
Right.
friend. And like Mr. Bean said, today for you, tomorrow can be
No
for
question
me.
about it.
Exactly.
So while we have the strength, while we have health, let us use our health to make a difference. So when we find ourselves, God forbid, in these situations, we have everything there that is there to take care of us.
Understood.
We have to start making ways. See, we only have one hospital, and one day, God forbid, all of us might end up in there. See, I don't want to end up in Princess Margaret Hospital in the condition that it's in.
Right. And to add to what Charlotte said about this case, it just breaks my heart to know that we were doing the blood drive on the same day.
Mhm.
And we had to turn away people at the end of our blood drive
Why?
because the blood bank at the hospital, the way they organize it, we had arranged to leave at 4:30.
Okay. Yeah, we did say from
yes,
the
right.
from
They
11:30 until 4:30.
4:30, exactly.
Mhm.
And we had arranged for 2 beds, 4 beds. They sent 2 beds. We arranged for 4 medical personnel. They sent 2, and then we arranged to leave at 4:30. When we got there on the day of the blood drive, we were told by the 2 medical personnel that they will be leaving at 3. So I said, well, why? She said, because there is a shortage of staff.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I'm like, hold
You
on.
mean, wait a second.
Oh, that's right.
You're
That's
telling
right,
me
Steve.
this is a blood drive. They're
Uh-huh.
trying to get blood. They're always asking people to give them blood. And they're going to cut it short and only send 2 personnel down there. You're not serious with that, right?
I am serious. And they apologize for the inconveniences, but that's not good enough. See, when you are running a hospital, Steve, you have to mitigate against these problems. You have to have contingencies in place.
Absolutely.
If the doctor on call gets sick, you have to have a backup doctor on call. That's just the way hospitals are run.
Mhm.
So why would they not have other persons to fill in to come? I was taken back, and while we're on the air, let's
Was
just
this
get.
because it was a Saturday or so? I mean, I can't
No,
understand that.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it's political interference, but listen, man, we got to talk, man. This
Well, let's
this
talk.
this
That's what
open
I'm.
dialogue.
That's
This
why
open dialogue. That's
I
why we're
want you to
here.
talk to me.
Yeah, no more victimization, no more suppression. We got to talk. And another thing too, what I was taken back by was several days before the event, I sent a flyer
Mhm.
to the lady who was organizing it for the blood bank. And my artist, or the coalition's artist, had made up the flyer. And on the upper left-hand corner was the Coalition of Independence logo. On the upper right-hand corner, she had the PHA logo
Mhm.
because I had given her notes that we were sponsoring the blood drive in conjunction
Yes.
with the Princess Margaret Hospital.
Well, that's what he said.
So as an artist, she just put the PHA logo. Now listen to this. We know that the PHA, Public Hospital Authority, is the legal entity for all the clinics, all the hospitals in the Bahamas.
Indeed.
So to me, I took it to mean that, okay, they are ultimately responsible for everything that goes on in the hospital. So if we were sponsoring the blood drive, but they were there in conjunction with us,
Mhm.
I don't see why it would make such a big difference. But I got an email saying that we must take the PHA logo off our flyer
Well, that's political.
because they are not, listen to this, they are not sponsoring this blood drive with us. But I said to the lady, but this is a community effort. This is a community outreach. This is going to benefit the people, and this is going to benefit the hospital.
You have to be discouraged by that, man, because I mean, if we were to go now do a blood drive, we have to be very, very careful of how we're going to do this because at the end of the day, if they're not politically inclined to do what we are talking about and it's a joint sponsorship, I mean, what is this? That is ridiculous. You would have called that what that is. That is nonsense.
Yeah.
The problem, Steve, too many things in our country is politicized. And
Tell
it
me about
shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. And growing up and getting to the point where you're now understanding how the political arena has been run in this country as a child growing up, and now you're an adult and you're stepping back and you're looking at it now. As long as you're a person living in this country, these issues will affect you. There are certain things that should not involve politics. If our politicians, Steve, can just focus on the issues in this country, when they go into a House of Assembly, focus on the issues, come up with the solutions, stay out of some of the businesses of this country that does not concern them. Certain businesses they should not be involved in.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You have persons and organizations and committees that can take care of certain things. Their jobs is to come up with effective policies
Absolutely,
that can
man.
benefit me, that can benefit our country and future generations to come. And I like to ask this question, Steve, whilst we're on the air. When was the last time in the House of Assembly a policy or a bill was created or tabled on behalf of the Bahamian people that can directly benefit the Bahamian people, that can alleviate some of our social ills. When was the last time our government actually represented the Bahamian people by tabling proper bills, by passing proper policies? And now we are here fighting a fight that has been fought for years. I am now a part of the generation that has to pick up a mantle to continue fighting for something as simple as health. Health, Steve, health, which is a human rights for all human beings.
Exactly. And the hospital should not have any political interference, because usually you would get the doctors, the nurses,
Everybody's supposed to be a
who's trained in
blood
that
drive.
area.
That's what it's all
That's
about.
their area of expertise.
And you want to encourage people
They-
to come out and be a part of the
Right.
blood drive because, you know, at the end of the day, all of us need blood. We don't know when we're going to need blood. The whole point is this.
Mhm.
You've got to encourage us. You can't be repellent to this whole thing and
Exactly.
talk nonsense about you're going to cut it off at the saying you do it. And how you can do that? How?
But-
I mean, the higher ups could not have known about that. Not even.
Boy, I don't
I can
know.
tell you, I don't believe that anything of that.
I don't know, boy.
I'm going to
Okay,
give them the benefit of the doubt.
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Because, you know, I mean, why would they not want to get as much blood as they can? And you turned away people, you said?
I turned away
You
people.
turned away
Yes.
people who want to
Yes,
give
I
blood?
felt so bad.
goodness.
Somebody came there
Yes.
just after 4 o'clock,
Hmm.
and I had to. I felt bad, and I told them that because of short staff, the hospital had to leave the
And-
medical personnel.
And Steve, one thing I can say, the hospital out to citizens to come and donate blood. One thing I can say is we have people in this country who is willing to donate blood because we had an awesome turnout. We had
We
an
did.
awesome turnout to the point where we were turning people away. So I would like to thank the Bahamian people for being a part of this initiative to give blood, to donate. You saved a life. And we ask you to continue doing so as we continue on with this initiative, because this is not a one-time thing.
Right, and while you're saying thank you to the Bahamian people, despite what might have happened, I would still like to thank the blood bank for
Yes.
at least coming out and helping us in that way. So
Boy, but they gave you a hard road to climb in that particular one. You know, I'm thinking that they should have really put their best
Yes.
foot forward. And,
Yes.
you know, it was supposed to have been a
See-
remarkable thing
see-
because, I mean, how many groups, listen to this question. How many groups affiliated with politics will go and do this kind of thing up front? You paid for the ads and everything to
Yes.
make sure this thing happened.
Mhm.
Okay? Anybody else doing that? See, you got to ask that question because that's a pivotal question, you know. If these people want to serve the community, then they should be doing this kind of thing right now. What you just did on Saturday.
Exactly. Listen, Steve, there's so many people in the hospital right now who cannot get blood on a timely manner. You only have to look at social media and feel the pulse
Yes,
of what's going
yes.
on in the community.
Hmm.
People are always saying, "Oh, my father needs surgery. I'll come to the hospital." They go to the hospital.
You see it
and
all the time
either,
on social
oh, you
media.
didn't have mass, so they turn you away, or
Yeah.
something like that. So it is a little.
Well, let me
disturbing.
congratulate you all. I
Mhm.
think that what you did was a very, very good thing as shadow minister.
Mhm.
I think that you made a big impression to the point where people now feel you. They know that you're interested in doing this thing, and that you've made your presence felt in that particular regard. However, I wish I could have said the same thing overall for the PMH, but I give them some room for them to improve themselves, and that must never happen again. Anybody who wants to give blood, any organization, you need to
Yes.
support that 100%. Blood bank, you need to support that 100%. You cannot be playing with that, you know, because we need the blood. We know that, okay?
And Steve, I would like to say to all of our medical personnel, they didn't go to school for nothing.
Hmm.
They went to school because this is something that they wanted to do. That's probably the reason they were born, helping people. But when it comes down to the leadership and the foundation of it all, We're losing a lot of our
me about
medical
it.
personnel.
People are going elsewhere.
We're losing a lot, and the frustration that is there is based on the fact that there's not enough assistance, there's not enough supplies. I mean, it's frustrating. We visited that hospital a few days ago, and Steve, I couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
Yes.
And Charlotte brought up nurses. I just saw in the newspaper that this government is going to be bringing in 40 nurses from Ghana and the Philippines.
Yes.
But you know, the problem that if we need them, we need them. But the problem that I have is why do we need them? If we're training our Bahamian nurses, the only problem is that our Bahamian nurses are leaving because maybe the pay is better. It's
They go
paid better
elsewhere because it's better.
internationally.
Mhm.
Right. So we have to do
And
that.
our nurses are considered the best in the lot, you know.
Yes.
Exactly.
Our nurses.
Yes.
Exactly.
And people need to know that. As a matter of fact, that is why they're leaving in great abundance and they're going elsewhere.
They're going.
But you see, we've got to do something to mitigate against that. We've
Yes.
got to make sure that we can keep our people here
Yes.
and provide them the kind of jobs. I don't know where they're going to get the money from, but the whole thing needs an overhaul. That whole medical system needs an overhaul.
It does.
Mhm.
We're talking about nurses, right? Let me say something. There was a video going around this morning where there was a lot of rain, almost like a flash flood, a lot of rain. And at the Elizabeth States Clinic, the people were under the tent. There was a lot of water. I don't know if you saw that video.
No, I didn't see
Everybody was sitting, their feet was in another chair. If not, their foot would have been in a
the
puddle
water.
of water. So what I did was I decided to call the Elizabeth State Clinic myself because I didn't want hearsay. And I asked someone, so they put me on to maybe one of their senior personnel. And we had a little chat. And I asked her, well, why were the people sitting out under the tent? And she said to me that they were still renovating the Elizabeth State Clinic. I say, for how long? She said, it's been 3 years now. I said, 3 years you are renovating that? I couldn't believe it. Part of her problem, she said that it was because of COVID had slowed it down. But see, let me tell you something. The PLP has been in power now for what, 2 years? And you mean to tell me you can't get a one-story building finished? I could see if it was multiple levels, perhaps, but one story. I heard that it's almost finished, but it is. Have the people was an oversight on someone's part, but nevertheless, the young lady, she tried to defend the government by saying, well, as soon as it rained, we brought them inside. And then further on in the conversation, she did say, well, if we're given a lemon, we have to work with it.
Mhm.
So I brought this story up to say that our nurses are a lot of times working under constraints and a lot of stress. Sometimes the equipment isn't there. And like you say, because the pay is not commensurate with international standards,
Mhm.
they tend to go elsewhere. So we're gonna
That's
have,
what's gonna
the
happen.
coalition is gonna have to put an end to that.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to do special training, engage them more to find out what it is that they want. And
Gotta
make sure
keep
that
these
their
nurses home.
environment, exactly. We
You're
should be
breaking
bringing,
up families and everything. You can imagine a wife go all PH on this. Come on.
and
We got to get serious with this.
yeah, because I feel like our nurses will be better in treating our people than the how do you say Ghana? Ghanaians
Yeah.
or
Guyanese.
no, not Guyanese, no, from Ghana, from
Oh,
Africa. Yeah, so
Guyanese.
Ghanaian or Ghanaian, okay, and Philippines,
Mhm.
they're coming over. So I feel like our nurses, would have been better suited to treat us.
Yeah,
But-
well, that ain't all. You see, we are plagued with a whole lot of things.
Mhm.
And Dr. Michael Davo, he is trying his best. Let me tell you, he's trying his best. Because I spoke with him. And I hear his pain because I know that he has a multiple lot of things that he's got to get done, and he has a limited time frame to get it done. He's now talking about his hospital and all these other different people out in the family island. So you don't have to jump on the back of a truck to go to the airport to get to Nassau. You know, there's a lot of things that they ought to have done for people a long time. When I say that, government, successive government, they ought to have done these things for many, many years. And our people still have to in the ride to get to the airport, to catch a plane, to get to Nassau. You know, we need to be that telemedicine thing that we was talking about in Minister's time. They need to really look at that thing again and make sure that it can work. See, a lot of things are happening to our people, and our people are at disadvantage because they can't get the help. They can't get no help.
Well, I agree because when we went, the coalition and myself, we went to South Andrews and
Mhm.
Mangrove Key
Yes, yes.
because we're doing our tours. And being in the health ministry, I get to find out some things that are going on health wise. And I was so disappointed when I found out that Mangrove Key didn't have a health clinic for mostly about 8 or 9 years. And I think it was under, who was the Minister of Health in the FNM? It was at Wells. Wells. And then Wells was trying to arrange, it was Wells. And Wells was trying to arrange for he's the engineer. He was trying to arrange to fix that clinic. And then after that, Darvel took over. And they keep going back and forth, and the contracts keep getting metered out. I know Darvel said that he had a $6 million budget to finish the clinic in Mangrove Key. Where is that money sitting? Where has it been used to anything else? That's the question that I have. I put it to them because when I went there, I visited the clinic myself. Bushes were growing up around it. And I walked onto the property and I snuck around and I told the government if it's private property, then they'll have to arrest me because Charlotte sitting next to me went to Charlotte. I'm making a little joke now. Charlotte, they arrested her and she went to jail. So I might have to do the same thing because I had to go and see for myself what was going on with that clinic.
Mhm.
And I looked inside and I saw that it was like half done. The roof had started to rot. And all of that money they put into that, it was never finished. And of course, the whisper is.
Why do you think they do these things?
Well,
I mean,
you want me to tell you why?
publicity.
No,
What
you
is
want, you
going
want me to tell you why? Okay. Cronyism. What happens is when let me tell you the difference. The PLP and the S&M, I shouldn't say that, I should just say the dinosaur parties, they are the same. When they get in, when the PLP get in, they paint the House of Assembly yellow. When the FNM get in, they paint the House of Assembly red. And the only other difference between the two is the yellow cronies take contracts away from the red cronies. And when the FNM get in, they take contracts away from the yellow cronies. And this is what's been happening in Andros. So they kept going from one clinic to the next in Andros, renting from other people to make ends meet while that clinic is unfinished. And I am asking the government, I'm calling the government out. I want to see who the contracts went to, how much money was paid to these cronies, I should say, and what are they paying for the rent? These are things that the taxpayers ought to know. Maria, who is in our group, she's always been calling out for both parties to listen, put those records down for us to see. Why are they hiding all of this? There's no freedom of information. There's nothing. So we are at the peril of both dinosaurs.
Yeah, no question about it. We're talking today here on the show with the COI individuals today. We're talking about all the things that they're looking at now, want to make some changes in our country for healthcare. And today we're talking with the chairman of the COI, Charlotte Green, and the Shadow Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Veronica McIver. And they're challenging the government to provide better healthcare for the residents of the Bahamas. And that's a tall order because the government has a lot of work to do. Believe you me, We're not just talking about the clinics that they want to build and all this. We're talking about all these things that they've got to manage properly. All these dengue clinics that is now in full sway right now about what's happening with dengue fever in the Bahamas. All these things are happening. Not the death, the rise in the dengue epidemic, I call it, is getting pretty very serious now. And these things are serious to the point where the government must move and act like they on top of things. If they don't do that, we're going to have another outbreak. God willing, we don't want to have another outbreak, but we can actually have these things because people need to also understand that they have got to do a lot of things as well to make sure that remove all the old ties and all that kind of stuff as well. And there are a number of ads that are running on the radio right now to make sure that people understand those things. But again, the healthcare challenges are monumental, monumental. And I don't know how this thing is going to actually happen, but it's good news to hear that the COI wants to get involved and do some things in a profound way. That new hospital, now, you've been talking about that Charlotte Grange for a long, long time, eh?
Well, Maria has been talking
Yeah,
about that for
yeah.
quite a long time.
She has.
Yes, and I agree with her. Steve, our country doesn't only give service to the citizens of the country.
Mhm.
This is always also a tourist destination.
Absolutely.
All of our islands are mostly inhabited. We have tourists going to those islands, visiting those islands every day. Okay, we say that tourism is one of our most important industry. Tourism house people. Tourism is about people, the visitors coming to this country. Yet we don't have the proper health system to take care of these people when they come to this country, when they enter this country.
Mhm.
So what does this say about us? But yet we brag about tourism.
There's a lot to
We're-
be desired.
yeah, we're not inviting animals, we're inviting human beings. And accidents happens on vacation.
That's right, especially with those people who driving around and looking buses and stuff like that.
Exactly. Now, I know you said that the government has a lot of work to do.
Mhm.
Yes, they do. Yes, we do. We have a lot of work to do. And one of the things I can say, we have been operating in this archaic system for such a long time. Obviously, something is not right. We have to take a microscopic look and examine what the problem is. Okay, we need to be able.
Very sober look.
Yes.
I like
Mhm.
I like the vision that the Coalition of Independence has as it relates to decentralizing Nassau and giving and creating island states. Allow the islands to govern themselves. Andros knows exactly what Andros needs.
Is that the idea that's now picking up and catching on among people in the country?
Yes. Freeport, Grand Bahama knows what Grand Bahama needs. Abaco knows what Abaco
question about
needs. And at the end of the day, Steve, we have leaders in this country.
Exactly.
Leaders in this
Who can
country
lead.
who can lead.
Want to do what they have to do.
And these islands have been, the outer islands have been suffering for decades.
Yeah.
There is no excuse, Steve. I understand Dr. Darville might be overwhelmed. I understand that they are overwhelmed, but they are overwhelmed based on corruption,
Mhm.
cronyism, and all of the other things that has gotten us and paved the road to
Yes.
where we are today. So now that the people are becoming aware, yes, they would feel it
Yeah.
because the people are demanding
They're
more.
aware. No question. We got a call. Hold your thought. We get a call. I want to take a call here on the telephone lines. Welcome to Hard Copy. How are you? Peace and love all the time.
I just happened to catch the show, but I scrolled on Facebook there.
Hi there.
And I think this is the first time I'm calling your show with the COI on the show. This is the first time I'm actually listening to them being on the radio.
Yes.
And, you know, they're saying all the things.
Mhm.
And ladies, good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And, you know, you're talking about healthcare. And maybe after the show, Steve can tell you that I was involved in a healthcare business.
That's right.
over the years.
Mhm. Mhm.
The problem with healthcare in the Bahamas is that, as with anything in the Bahamas, is because if you're not a doctor or a lawyer, these people don't believe you know what you're doing.
Hmm.
Now, here it is. We have the first outpatient MRI center and PET center. The MRI center in the Bahamas, first outpatient. And we had the first patrol division from mammography machine outside the United States, Canada, in the Caribbean, and the Bahamas. We were the first. We were the first to send us black Bahamians to have these services, and because we weren't doctors, they put their people on us, and we had to close down. Remember those days, Steve?
I remember that. I remember that. Big time. This is way out west. I would say this is way out west. Yeah.
Way out west.
Yeah.
The big guys here, these people who like to talk. It's MSCF and have the support together now. But the problem with the Bahamas is that Bahamians tend to believe that if you're not a doctor, a medical doctor, or a brilliant or you're not going to go anywhere with it. Because even having an MRI center, we were the first to have telemedicine because we are radiologists and doctors in South Florida. We don't have more information about more hospitals are already doing that.
Mhm.
See, the problem is that until Bahamians start believing in themselves and stop believing in their politicians, we can get.
That's a tall order, boy. It's a tall order.
Right. And see, right now, right now, all the medical facilities, as far as MRIs, CAT scans, everything, and all that stuff, they're run by doctors. And if you're not in that clique, they're going to push you out.
Right.
And that's why you can't get all these things going in the Bahamas because there's a clique.
I appreciate your call.
Okay, Steve.
I thank you very kindly.
Wow,
Yes.
the gentleman who
Is
just
that
called-
amazing?
Yeah, that is so amazing. I'm so sad to hear that because that should never happen. In our government, we're going to empower all the people. Right now, I understand what he's saying. There's a certain group of cronyism that's going on, and when the red gets in or the yellow, it's a revolving door.
I
So the
see.
same people, in my estimation,
Play all
are
the
getting
time.
their bread buttered all the time. Meanwhile, you, Steve, Charlotte, and all of us, we are like the slaves in the cotton field, and they are like the house slaves getting the crumbs from the table.
Absolutely.
That's got to stop.
Mhm.
But I just want to let the Bahamian people know that the coalition is here for you runaway slaves, and we got somewhere for you to go. So, my brother, you just hang in there. Because it's people like you that we're going to empower when we get in.
We got calls online. Do we speak?
Yes.
Yes. Hard copy, how are you?
How you doing, Steve?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good day to McIver and Charlotte. Great. How you doing?
Good day. Good day.
Good evening.
Awesome. I just want to tell you what I think that's happened on why the situation with DMH is the way it is. This might be space on the side to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at doctors' hospital, right? The same doctors that are on PMH is the same doctors at doctors' hospital. Now you have to ask the question: who has shared the doctor's hospital? Who have shared the clinics? When you start to find out who have shared these things, then you might understand why PMH is never do better. Because if you ask me, you ask the average person, if they were to go to any service, they'll tell you, I gotta go to doctor's hospital. Right? So you have to find out who these places happen on. The public pharmacy close at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The public pharmacy closes at 4 p.m. Okay? Which means the public or the least fortunate does not have access to affordable medicine. Which means they are pushed to the pharmacy. Right? This is just like the baseball field. How many times they have to give money to finish that? What? They start it, they don't finish it, then they come and down the party, they spend more. They find a way to get the money of the treasury if you ask me.
I love.
All right?
And you think that you, I love.
One building taken 10 years and overrun by billions. That don't make any sense. It doesn't make logic sense. You could do a triplex for $300,000 and it could be done within a year. So how is it you could spend $multi-million on probably one level building and it can't
So this is bigger than double dipping and all that kind of stuff. This is triple dipping, that kind of stuff.
be realistic and be able to look at the things so you learn how to get the money over the track.
Yeah, manipulating the system.
Yes.
That's what I believe.
But I mean, we as people, we have to learn ourselves because we can't be going through this thing over and over and over again. We've got to change the dynamics. We've got to change what we are dealing with. I mean, we can't just keep electing these people who are going to fleece us every time they get a chance to fleece us, and we're not doing anything about it. We've got to be serious about what we are doing as well as Bahamian citizens. We've got to be very serious. This whole thing with immigration and everything else, the hospital, all we've got to be very serious about what we are doing so that we can put a stop to this once and for all. That may mean that may have to elect some new people in the government of the Bahamas.
The level of service.
I think this is the closest we have ever became to actually look at something new. Because I'm going to show you. I'm not even worried with the polls when they put it about the PMB 50%. That's nonsense.
Tell me about it.
Okay? I can tell you, who's on the ground right now? Do not want to see either party right now. That's a fact. That's a fact. I can tell you that's a fact. Okay? They want to pretend like the people are on their right. You stop pretending. I think it's right. If they was the party left today, they are out of here. You could cut your bottom dollar on them. I just want you to stand and call them.
I hope they know that. Mhm.
I want you to keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Because I can tell you, without you, my brother, the ground, many of them would be oblivious to what's going on in this country. Have a good day, please.
I appreciate your call. Thank you so kindly.
Right.
Yeah, that is what is actually happening. See, we have to call things as we see them. Not everybody agrees with me, but I'll tell you, at the end of the day, if we see nonsense, we call it out. It's nonsense. That's 60% nonsense.
Yeah, that,
You know, I don't even give that no more play. You know why? Because of the fact that they didn't know it's nonsense. I didn't read. It
Yeah.
reached the highest office in the land, the prime minister's office. He sent a fella out down to the Trey Reming, I think his name is, who listens to the show every day.
yes.
The Trey, how you doing, sir? He listens to the show every day, and they look at and they understand what is actually happening, and the whole thing adds up. So that is just one of many things that we have to do, and that's because I'm a Bahamian. I care about this country, and I care for this country that much to the point where I will say, listen, you're talking nonsense. Go again. Come back again. Don't try that. You're wrong.
Exactly.
You're dead wrong.
And Steve, that guy, like a lot of other Bahamians,
Mhm.
everybody's eyes are being opened. And I'm finding the same thing as I do my walkabout. This is like a quiet revolution.
Yes, you could feel
That's
it.
what it is.
Mhm.
I sense a reset and I sense a shifting taking place. And let me tell you something. This is a spiritual fight. And with God on our side, we win, because some people look at us as David and they look at those big dinosaurs as Goliath. But let me tell you something. When David picked up that rock and threw that sling, that's all he could do.
Mhm.
But God did the rest. And I believe this is a spiritual fight, and people's eyes are being opened. And like I said, people are talking to one another on the ground. So this is the groundswell
Yes,
that I'm
that's what
noticing.
it is.
And there's nothing that the other parties can do about it. Because when it's time, it's time. This is the Joshua generation.
No
And
question
when
about
it's
it.
time to go over, no one is going to put a stop to that.
And what you got is you got the groundswell happening. It's
Yes.
happening every day as we speak. The groundswell is actually happening.
Yes.
You can feel it.
Yes.
You can feel it. You can feel it, the temperature. You can see it. And what's going to happen is that the people who are fooling themselves, they're believing their own propaganda now. They believe that propaganda so much you can't tell them nothing. They believe that they know what exactly is happening,
Exactly.
but they're going to be surprised. See, and that's because they are not paying attention. They've not been paying attention. All you can do is listen to what the people, their cries, try to please them, try to get with them, try to find things that they would be interested in making sure they're happening in the House of Assembly. You got to bring issues to the table. That's what they're not doing. That they refuse to do it, and as a result of not doing it, they are losing the game, and they don't even know they're losing the game.
Right. And let me say this. The difference between the coalition and the other groups is that the other groups believe in trickle-down economics, where foreign direct investment comes into the country.
Mhm.
You give them, make all the provisions for them. They build the hotels or whatever, and the money trickles down to the Bahamian people through jobs. Our philosophy is the complete opposite. We don't mind foreign direct investment. Don't get us wrong. We're not going to turn those people away. But we want trickle up economics. And I am going to be fighting for trickle up economics.
There you go.
And the way we're going to do it is through the sovereign wealth fund and the extraction of our natural resources. Because if the money in and goes to the people to the bottom, they will be empowered to open up businesses. They in turn have to buy products from the big boys, and money from us to the bottom will trickle up to the top. So, and that's a win-win situation for everybody. So I'm trying to show it's going to work. The problem we're having is that I understand that our leader, that the present PM told him that the people will not get their sovereign wealth fund on natural resources. His philosophy is you give the money to a few at the top and let the money trickle down. Well, that is dinosaur. That's not going to happen with the coalition, and we're going to make the change.
Hot coffee, how you doing? Can I have hot coffee?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, sir. I'm listening to you.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Great point about certain doctors and PMH on the same doctors and hospital. Now, I have clarification from somebody that I have to be anonymous and you have to give a doctor that they make a solution in the foreign. All right, and the great surgeon. I heard that I asked him to save one of my sons because the brain aneurysm. He said, listen, come help. He said, look like he's serious about helping and saving the human being. When I give you this information, do not call my name. But I took a vote down in the Bahamas. But elsewhere, wherever he's from, I come and answer this system. He's seeing corruption immediately because certain things he has to sign off on, certain things he has to see. He said, in the basement of PMH, therefore, great aneurysm, great functioning equipment that doctors have that's not working. The top they cost $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 just for the part to get fixed. They have it in the basement. He said, now the reason why it isn't being fixed is because y'all leaders are partners with Doctors Hospital. And I was like, wow. Now, this is me trying to save one of my parents. And I'm like, are you serious? I can't do nothing. They have to pay your parent to doctors, which is $70,000, $100,000 insurance to operate. And it's up to them to say they want me to do it. And when I do it, it takes forever to pay them. All right, I speak in rules. This is actually what happened. All right. Because that's the problem. That's the reason why PMH was never get the right treatment because your politicians are involved with doctors. And that is a serious problem. And it's like if you're willing to go deep into helping the human people, you gotta find out the secret things that's what's happening. You gotta get rid of it. And it's sad that is coming from a foreigner to tell me this because he's frustrated.
Hello.
Somebody with a brain aneurysm cannot be saved in PMH, only in doctors, because we don't have the equipment functioning for a pilot cost. So he can't do his job. Only get to his job. I don't. All right.
Appreciate your call.
Steve, I'd like to respond to that. I'd like to respond to that. And I would like to try my best to respond without the anger. Because this is what prompts me to do what I am doing. I do not know how our people see themselves, but the reason I stand up and fight for my country and I step into the position that I am now in is because how I see myself and what I know I deserve as a human being.
Absolutely.
And we have leaders, we are literally paying leaders to make monies off of us and to murder us. Because life is one of the most precious things. And because we don't have the money,
Suffer.
my mother, my father, my child has to meet an early death. And this is where I go back to say, our politicians' hands are in things that it should not be in because it allows room for corruption. They should be in the House of Assembly creating policies and tabling bills to benefit the people of this
No
nation.
question about it.
My mother should not have to pass because of simple illnesses that could have been cured or procedures that she could have afforded. This is unacceptable, and I need the Bahamian people to hear my voice. Let's not put party before country. Let's not put party before our families and our children. We have to put our children in our country first. We have to start making national decisions that is going to benefit the entire nation. Whether you are PLP, FNM, or COI, it doesn't matter. We are all in one bucket right now. We all one day have to end up in Princess Margaret Hospital, God forbid. Let's collectively come together. We're fighting each other while they're giving, our leaders are giving each other high fives and going to the bank and cashing out. You can't finish a hospital? Steve, we have to hold them accountable. We have to hold them accountable.
There's got to be much more focus.
And
on
I'm
this
sorry,
hospital
Steve,
visit.
October 4th,
Yeah.
October 4th, our voices will be heard. And we will continue to demand accountability. And people has to be held accountable. October 4th, they will see us in Parliament Square. We're going peaceful, but we need answers. We are losing lives unnecessarily. It's time for real governance.
Yeah. And Steve, you mentioned it's time for a hospital. In doing my research, I found out that the hospital that we have now, the public hospital, was built in 1952 by the UBP, not even the PLP or the FNM. In 1952, it was called the Bahamas General Hospital then.
Correct.
And then in 1955, they renamed it the Princess Margaret Hospital after the Queen's sister, Princess Margaret, who visited Nassau. Now, when you add up the amount of years from 52 to now, that's what, 70 years, almost 2 generations. I can't even believe our governments will allow an infrastructure that old to exist. Mind you, they did some renovations every now and then, and they did add on a new block. I think the FNM, I'll give them credit for that, I believe. They were the one who added on the A&E block. But I heard Graham one time on the radio, I hope you don't mind me quoting him. Graham said, well, it's like putting on 4 new tires onto a car, the engine is not working. But I think it is time for a new hospital. Listen, they keep kicking the can down the road. Okay? And when you hear of the PM traveling, the Minister of Foreign Affairs traveling, they would have used about what? Maybe $85 million during the 5 years. Then they allocated another 66 million to what they call consultants. Let me tell you something. I would have taken some of that money. That would have been the foundation for my hospital. I may as well tell you. And let me tell you what I was going to do. Because my mother taught me how to take $1 and stretch it into two.
You see,
$2.
women are far better at these things
Yeah.
than men could ever be at these things.
Yeah.
And that's a natural thing that you women have.
So listen, when that foundation got down there, Dr. McIver was going to be the first one there. I was going to lift that first block up, and I was going to put block by block until we built that hospital. But the amount of money that they're using on travel, I'm not saying travel isn't important. It is important for a government, but the amount of travel, I think, is unnecessary. It truly is. They have to do better. We need a new hospital, and we have to get it by whatever means. But see, that's why the coalition is going to be able to do all of these things because, see, the source of revenue
Mhm.
has to change in a country.
Yes.
If we keep depending on foreign direct investment to trickle down, we are not
Never gonna
going
make it.
to do it. We have to have a different philosophy,
Mhm.
and that's why we cannot have people exploiting our natural resources and taking advantage of it. That cannot happen in the new Bahamas.
So when you talk about exploiting the natural resources, obviously there's going to be a big shift under the COI with this kind of thing. You're going to really explore this whole thing
Yes.
when it comes to natural resources and the human capital, the development of these things that we want to see. We've talked about it before. I spoke with Lincoln Bean some time ago, and we spoke about those things. But we've got to really focus now, really on this kind of thing because the people are hip to it.
Yes.
They are understanding it,
Yes.
and you've got to really put the pressure on the government and on the people themselves that look, we can do this.
Yeah.
This is how we can do this.
This-
So there's got to be more exposure on this whole thing from the COI's perspective because no one else is talking
Yeah.
about exploiting the
Steve,
natural resources.
don't get me started on that subject.
Mhm.
Because listen, because we have no freedom of information, it leads the Bahamian to speculate. Now listen to this. I have lived long enough to have been through Hubert Ingram's government and Perry's government, Perry Christie, the Honorable Perry Christie. And as far as I'm aware, both of those ex-prime ministers were very evasive when they were asked the questions about our natural resources.
Yes.
I think one went as far as to say we don't have any.
Very efficient.
So let me say this. Because in the last general election, the coalition was advocating for natural resources so hard, what the FNM government did in the last 6 months prior to election, they appointed a committee across the floor, about 5 or 6 members, and they went from island to island. And it meant a lot to me because I followed them and I knew what they were doing. And we, the taxpayers, had to pay for that. We had to pay for their room and board and their airline tickets. And they went from island to island. And the only thing I heard at one point was when one of the committee members said on the radio or the news that they have discovered that the Bahamas have about 28 natural resources. Now, listen, if that committee was set up during Minnie's last couple of months in government, I am asking you, Steve, and the Bahamian public, if anyone under the sound of my voice know where I can get a hold of that report from that committee, please call me after the show because I want to know where that report is. Why are they being so evasive? The people's eyes are opening up, and if anybody wants to know, they always ask me, well, why did you join the coalition? You know why? Because the coalition vision is in line with the Joshua generation and the New
There
Bahamas.
you go.
And that's the reason why I joined, if anybody wants to know.
I hear that. Hard copy, how you doing? Good afternoon, hard copy. Are you there?
Hello?
Yes, sir. I'm listening to you.
Yeah, Mckinney, so.
All is well, sir.
I want to just thank you for allowing me to thank Madam Chairman, Minister of Health, Shadow Minister of Health, Dr. McIver. This could be lucky for you. We all know that when the government come into power, they do have a quick one of their quick like the PLP's their quick was to do away with confused. And I was done. I was from there first time. But as the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. McIver, what would be your first being in people? What would be the first thing that you do once you elected to power?
Thank you for your question, caller. When I get in, we have to go with what we call the low-hanging fruit, because your first month in government, you would just be doing your research on where the resources are, finding out information, because remember now, the freedom of information is still not available. So when we get in government, we will have to find all that information out. So we will start with what we call the low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit will be things like, okay, we will have ambulances placed in strategic locations throughout Nassau so that they can get to their destination within 5 to 10 minutes. One of the things I would do right away is get a list together, because we will be assigning health advisors to every Bahamian that want to be assigned. If you do not want to be assigned and you want to keep your private health insurance, that is fine with us. But every Bahamian will be available and will be assigned a health advisor. Now, what this health advisor will do, they will call you in and they will run a test on you either once a year or twice a year. We have to make that decision with our consultants and the committee. And the reason why we're doing that is because we feel as if we can prevent illnesses, the government will save a lot of money on the back end, even though some people may say that may be a bit costly to assign a health advisor like a doctor to every patient in the Bahamas, but it will be worthwhile on the back end. Because I'll just give you a quick example. Let's say I call you in and I did a quick blood exam on you, and I find out that your sugar is pre-diabetic, but you didn't know. But I could alert you of that, and I can tell you what to do. Can you imagine the money you will save if you could avert crossing that line into diabetes?
Yes.
So these are the things that we need to discuss. And a lot of people have, especially men in the Bahamas, a lot of them have high blood pressure. They don't even know they have it. It's a silent disease. So if we alert them, we can save a lot of lives. And so those are the things I will be doing first once I get into the chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, what are you going to be doing first? You're the chairman. You're a very, very powerful person in this body. You are going to orchestrate a number of things that's going to happen throughout the entire islands, throughout New Providence and Grand Bahama and every place else. You got to be that person who's going to be that catalyst between the president and all the executives and your committee and the people of this country. You are a woman, very beautiful woman, I agree, and one who can actually make some things happen now. I want to know exactly how is it that you're going to do all of those things, travel a lot, do what you have to do, and keep the people together on one accord, because you're now telling us it's the COI time.
Well, first of all, Steve, it's my job, along with my leaders, my executive, to share the vision. Once all of our people are part of one vision, once the vision is explained properly, we can all move in one direction. As the chairman, it is also my job to bring not only the party together, but our nation together. Because for such a long time, we have been divided with political, between political parties. The division might always be there because everyone has their different perspectives. But as the chairman of this organization and eventually our country, it is my job to bring our people together. Once the vision is understood and once it is shared, you then delegate. Once you could delegate and persons are on one accord, we can move cohesively. And it's possible, it's doable. We are human. The only thing that's needed is for the vision to be articulated and shared and declared.
Yes.
Once people understand their country and you empower them and they understand the agenda and the objective of what you are doing, it makes your job a little bit easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to be an uphill climb as it is right now, but it makes it a lot more easier. Like you just said, Michael Darville, he's stressed right out. And that is because people don't understand the vision of the PLP party. There is no vision coming from the FNM party. We have to have vision. And once it is clear, we can move as one. And this is where we have to get to, moving and operating as one people. We might not all agree, but once that vision is clear and once the team is solid, we can do anything, Steve. Again, I'm not saying it's going to be easy.
Understood. Understood.
But I am looking forward, Steve,
Good
to
thing
getting
that you
into
got
the
it.
house,
Yeah, you got a good team.
to put some policies in place, to release some bills that belong to the people that is going to allow the people to benefit.
One of the first things we'll do.
Oh, yes, I am anxious and I'm excited about releasing the people's bill. I'm anxious about tabling bills that are going to benefit our people. I am so excited now. I am ready to see our people rise, Steve. And once you could ease the burden, begin to ease the major burden of our people, once you could allow them to rise to the top, Steve, you will see the change in the country. You will see how people begin to band together.
Yes.
It's possible. It's doable. It can happen.
I concur with what she is saying, and I remember my leader stating on another show that one of the low-hanging fruits for us is going to be free water. Free water is an essential product. Can you imagine? And Charlotte is very polite. She didn't tell you that she is the shadow minister of urban development. And so one of the jobs that if I'm sitting around the table with her in cabinet, I'm going to nudge her and say, hey, make sure everybody have running water in their house, because there is some things that are so basic to our Bahamian people that I can't see anybody in their house without running water, and I cannot see anybody without electricity. Those two things are so basic for me. Let me tell you something, Steve. Sometimes I hold my head when I do walkabouts in communities. And I see certain things. One time I went to a lady's house and she had a little hole in her wooden house. And I pointed it out. I felt so bad. I said, well, can anything, a lot of bugs may come through. You know what she said to me? She said, yeah, a centipede came through that hole and bit me last night. I thought I was going to drop, okay? Because I felt so bad. And then when I thought about our politicians walk through those communities for 50 years, 70 years, and like, it pretty much looked the same. And then I felt bad going back into my gated community. When the electricity goes off, the generator kicks in. And I say this shouldn't be. Everybody should have a certain level of subsistence to which to live on. That's only human dignity.
Yes.
And I think people ought to have, that's the human right of everybody in the Bahamas. And that's what I see as a vision. I do not see the poverty that I see today. I just can't see that. No.
Yeah, Steve, so just to piggyback off of Dr. Veronica, the Coalition of Independence Immediate Action Plan is to release Crown land to its people.
Yeah.
Crown land is empowerment, Steve.
Yes.
Island state governance to allow our country, our islands, our people to be able to govern themselves. Self-governance is possible. It's happening. This isn't something that's just popped up out of the box. We have to now take the power away from the government and put it in the hands of the people. I was growing up in this country and learning about the two political divide, I have never heard them speak on this level of empowerment as it relates to the Bahamian people. It has always been about foreign interests. Well, the COI is here to empower people. And not only that, Steve, we're not just saying this, this is also embedded in our Constitution. So our people can now hold us to this.
Yes. I agree. Charlotte said that's one of the low-hanging fruits too. We can get straight on the ground and start working on giving Crown land to all of our Bahamian citizens. Because when you have land, you are king. Everybody else have land. All the foreigners who come in, they have access to land, and we're gonna have a land. Now, this isn't the first thing we're gonna do, but eventually we need to get to a land registry. That we need to have land reform. I can think of a lot of things that really need cleaning up in this town. It's
No
just
question
so
about
much
it.
stuff needs to be done.
Absolutely.
We have a mammoth task
Mhm.
ahead of us, but you know what? The grace of God, it's going to get done.
Well, that's good. I wonder how are you going to look at the whole picture of the COI as time goes on and things get rough and tough and tumble. You've got to look at the whole big picture of the COI, the philosophy, making sure they're on point with all the messages. And everyone is on the same page, doing all the same things that is a part of what the leadership has been wanting for so long to see people are out there doing what they have to do in finance, in the economy, all that kind of stuff. You got some financial ministers and stuff like that now. I'm hoping to have them on one day
Yes.
so that we can know who the
Yes.
COI really is. Because sometimes people believe that COI is just Lincoln Bain over there and that's it. No, the
No.
COI is
Yes.
an institution, a
Yes.
party. It's a big party too, and it's growing by leaps and bounds.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
It is.
And
Yes.
people don't know how the magnitude of the COI. See, I happen to know the magnitude of the COI. I see it growing, and I see people signing it all the time. And that's because they believe in a dream that's going to happen for them. They are interested in this dream. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that that messaging is out there every day, all day, and the people are understanding what you are all about.
Okay, let me say this. What I have found in Nassau and the Bahamas is that our message is getting out there. But what's happening is due to suppression of the mainstream media, our message cannot move as fast as we would like, even though there's a groundswell.
I got
And
the
let
answer.
me- okay.
Use what you have.
Okay, but let me
Use
say
what
this.
you have.
Okay, and that's exactly what we're doing.
You gotta do.
And let
Use
me
what you
tell you
have.
what else they're doing. Because our message is on point, you know what they're doing? They're attacking the messenger.
Right.
And that's not going to work because the Bahamian people want fairness, justice, and truth. And their eyes are being opened and they're going to see right through that. Because at the end of the day, when I go to church, if the pastor is preaching, I'm not looking at him as my savior. I'm looking at the message he's going to give me to enrich
with your
enrich
savior.
me for that week.
Mhm.
But he's a man, he's frail, he's nobody is perfect, but they need to concentrate on the message and stop looking at the messenger.
No question about it.
Even
Well, Steve, what I can say is that yes, our party has a dynamic outline. Our associations, our branches, as well as the applicants that are still pouring in to represent the party in different constituencies and ministries. At the end of the day, there is still heavy victimization in our country.
No
We
question
do
about it.
not want to release all of our
Well, you mustn't. You
Yeah,
have to be
we don't-
smart in this thing now.
exactly.
Don't
we
be-
don't want to release all of our
You
persons.
cannot be foolish.
However, there are persons who are coming forward who will be released shortly in our upcoming convention that's going to be held November 18th. So I am totally looking forward to that.
Let me give you a little joke.
This is going to take us to another level
Let me give you a little
in
joke.
our
Let me give you a
organization.
little joke, Charlotte. Everybody knows that right now we're running this thing called Stop the Invasion, right?
Yes.
And everybody who comes to make sure that they put the money to stop the invasion, the first thing they say, don't use my name.
Yeah.
But guess what? They are on board big time.
Yes.
But you're right. You said you cannot tell people
yes.
who these people are, and the time is not right for that yet.
Yes. We've
So
had, see,
if they telling me don't use my name,
uh-huh.
but they giving all that money,
Uh-huh.
that means something.
So now, to piggyback off that, we've had persons stepped into that office, persons of major businesses in this country, good families who have stepped into that office. I am in support of coalition, but please,
Yeah.
right now, Don't put my name out there.
Yeah.
And so people are aware of the victimization. Now, Steve, let me say this. When you hear people state things like, oh, the coalition is a cult group, or the coalition I'm inside the WhatsApp world. So like I want to say to you all that the mainstream media is not the only media out there. The mainstream media is actually trying to get onto the social platform that we are coming from, because that is where all of the people are right now.
Right.
You can reach people globally just from WhatsApp quicker than you can reach them through mainstream media. So when persons say that, the coalition of independence is a cult because
Propaganda.
exactly, propaganda. What I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, Steve, we have garnered so much support. You still have people who are doubting because they are paid to doubt. But this organization has such a huge following. I was even blown away when we had our Men Alliance meeting last week. I told Mr. Bean that we cannot have this meeting where we normally have it because I don't think it's going to be sufficient space. But I still wasn't prepared for the amount of people that showed up. So people are standing up, and when the men stand up,
Well, a lot of men support the coalition.
yes,
I mean, everywhere I go, that's all I hear all the time. That's what I hear all the
Yeah.
time. And I do talk radio, so being in this chair every day, people say things to me all the time, and I can tell you that I don't know if that 42% of what the PLP had, and they said that they ain't have nobody to support them, or they kind of like somewhat support. There may be some of the same, but I say who say somewhat support because they would COI them. They're not supporting them. And the 55 men, who the polling that said 55 men, I can believe that some of the people are elsewhere because the polls are all skewed and it wasn't real.
Yes.
But the point is this: there are people who do not support what is actually happening in either governments of this time. At this time, and as a result of that, you're seeing the numbers fluctuate to the point where some other support is happening elsewhere. I even see Brandon McKinney, McCartney is now sticking his head out and saying some stuff about this whole thing with Lincoln being, and them have been saying all along, and I've been saying it all along too, Couture Ferguson and all that. And I said, boy, this is late. He come late for this thing. He just come down to sing whole thing and over, because really Couture Ferguson has gone on to greener pastures, and she got all the money and all that. And, it's like kind of late. So the point is this: I hear what you're saying. You're right with what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. He's right with what he's saying, but at the same time, it's a little late because the horse is out of the barn and they gone.
And I didn't read the article, Steve, with the McCartney gentleman, but someone sent me the headlines, and I don't know if the newspaper wrote it in such a skewed way that third parties can't win or whatever. That might have been in the past, but what they don't understand is that this is a new dispensation. The time has changed.
Yeah.
20 years ago, social media wasn't as active as it is today. 20 years ago, I was so busy running my practice, sending my kids to college, building my home. No one had enlightened me about natural resources, even though there were others prior to Mr. Bain who bought it, who talked about it. But until Mr. Bain brought it to the forefront and made it visible for everybody to understand it, then things are changing. And so what happened in Brandon's time, you cannot equate that to what's happening today. They may want to say it's happening, but it isn't. This is a new dispensation.
No question about it. Well, on Hot Copy today, we're talking with the people there from COI, and of course, we're talking today with Dr. McIver and Charlotte Green, because they are wanting to see some changes in our healthcare system, and we've been talking about a number of other things as well. And you can hear from what they've been saying that they're ready to do this thing. they're ready to make some changes in the Bahamas. The question now is that are you ready to make some changes in the Bahamas? We'll see. We're going to run and take a break. Let's pay some bills, and when we come back, we'll wrap things up here today with Dr. McIver and Charlie Green. A woman of steel, they tell me. That's your name?
Well, Steve, we got to do what we have to do.
We can come back in just a minute. Right after these words. We've got Charlotte Green with us today, Dr. Veronica McIver with us today, and we're talking COI business today, simply because they both have ideas they believe can prosper the Bahamas at this time, and they wish to share their thoughts with the wider public today. They've been doing that for the most part, and they've talked about things like natural resources and everything else. And the hospital, that's a big, 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 big concern on the agenda for the COI. And Dr. McIver is at the helm of this because this is what she's talking about. This is what she's looking at. This is what she wants to have happen in the Bahamas for the Bahamian people because we need better health care. There's no question about it. We need better health care. We want it now. We don't want to wait anymore. We want it now. We've been promised these things for many, many years now. Successive governments have been promising this for all this time, and we still haven't gotten the hospital that we need yet. We still haven't got the kind of health care that we need yet. And there are a number of dynamics that she plans to bring to the table with her grouping. And of course, we're looking forward to all of those things and much, much more. So, Dr. McIver and Charlotte Green, I know that you've got other things that you want to talk about as well today. So, what are some of those other matters as we get the last 10 minutes?
Well, Steve, before we leave, we would like to read a portion of our, we would like to read the preamble of our party, of our constitution. And I'm going to read a portion of it, and I'm going to pass the rest of it to Miss Dr. McIver for her to take over. To our people, Bahamian people, this constitution, this preamble is our promise to you. This is something that you can hold us accountable to. And we believe in transparency and accountability. The Constitution of the Coalition of Independence Party of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Preamble. We, the members of the Coalition of Independence, solemnly declare and affirm our dedication to the empowerment, prosperity, and well-being of our fellow Bahamians, and to the unyielding spirit of self-governance and self-reliance. In reflection of the past 50 years, we acknowledge the strides taken in the creation of jobs and infrastructure. Yet we recognize the need for an evolution beyond the status quo towards a future where Bahamians hold not just employment, but ownership. We affirm that the next 50 years will be dedicated to transforming our nation through empowering every citizen, nurturing their talents, enhancing their capabilities, and ensuring their participation in our shared prosperity. We commit ourselves to reframe our relationship with our invaluable natural resources. We believe that the derived from these resources belongs to all Bahamians. Thus, we pledge to establish a sovereign wealth fund, ensuring that each citizen receives their rightful share through royalties from extraction and exploitation of our national assets. We further vow to change the relationship between the Bahamian people and the land. Every shall be entitled to a portion of free land, encouraging the cultivation of self-sustaining communities and fostering a deeper sense of ownership and pride in our beautiful islands.
Our commitment extends to the transformation of our economic structure, shifting the government's dependence from taxes to revenue generation through smart investments and the prudent management of our natural resources. This will create a robust and sustainable economy that will serve current and future generations. We believe in the principles of democracy, transparency, and accountability. We advocate for the decentralization of power, shifting it from politicians to the people. We will create island states and city government, ensuring that power is truly in the hands of the people. To eradicate corruption, we will foster a culture of integrity, honesty, and openness at all levels of government. We will ensure stringent accountability through freedom of information and the rule of law. For we believe that a corruption-free Bahamas based on godly principles of fairness, justice, and truth are essential for the realization of our shared vision. Our mission under the banner of the Coalition of Independence is to put Bahamians first, to craft a future of unprecedented prosperity, and to cultivate a nation that is truly of the people, by the people, and for the people. This is our solemn pledge to the Bahamian people. Thank you.
Yes, COI. That's what it's all about, and that is what people are saying. That's what they got on their lips these days. No matter what you've been hearing, that is what the people have on their lips. They're talking that true and true. And every other political party at this particular time should take note, because you just cannot just decide that they ain't in it. This one ain't in it. This is a different time, my friends. Different dispensation, different time. Anything could happen. I've been warning them all about that whole matter, because I talk with my good friend, Leslie Miller, my good friend, and I tell them all the time, my friends, listen, don't just write things off because you don't believe that no one is qualified like others. You never know who may be in charge of this country one day. Nobody thought that Hubert Ingram could be in charge of this country one day. In fact, nobody thought that Brave Davis was going to be in charge of this country one day, but he's in charge. Yeah? Nobody thought that Minnis would arise from where he was and become in charge of this country, and he was in charge of this country. You just can't minimize people. You just can't do that. And anybody who wants to just do that, well, always remember this. There are people who will go with the person who is the oddball. Remember that.
Yeah.
And when you have oddballs in a country like ours, that's a crazy country that everything can happen at any time to anyone, and no one is indifferent to anything happening to them. You can depend on that same oddball. Now, oddball may be the one to deliver you. They called Hubert Ingram the delivery boy. They didn't know what they was talking about, but he was the delivery boy. These things happen. So in politics, you count no man out. If you see man got life, and man interested, and man got determination, and man ready, my friend, he could convince some other man. That's how this thing goes. Ain't no big thing. That's how it goes. You got to understand that.
Yes.
And so we are hoping that Mr. Lincoln Bain and his group have much success, whatever they do. The Bahamian people ask them only to be fair and honest and true to their word. And we believe that he has marketed himself in a big way, that he seems to be fair and honest and true. And that's one thing that people keep saying to me. Say, man, you talking with these fellas. This fella Lincoln Bain is true, man. He's a true fellow. That's what they be saying. I say, okay, if you say so, buddy. If you say so, don't gang me now. I hear what you say. That's what they say. The point is this: count no man out. Count no man out.
That's correct.
And next thing you know, we could have changes in our country. Dynamic changes that we need. We really need changes in this country. There's no question about it. We've been doing the same old thing for so long. We so used to it now. We stall of it. We don't want to take it no more. We can't. We want vomit. We can't have that no more. We're ready for a change now. That's what it is.
Yes.
And when you're ready for a change, anything can and will happen.
Yes.
That's how it is. So, Doc.
Yep. Remember Miles Monroe said there will be people coming along who will blow your mind.
I remember that quite clearly.
And in closing, I just want to tell the Bahamian people that health will be my top priority for them. And we would like to engage the people and always remember that we'll take the power away from the politicians and we're going to give it to the people.
Charlotte, your final words.
Yes, I just want to let the Bahamian know that one thing that I can say that sets us apart from the PLP and the FNM, because persons always ask what makes you different. The fact that we impart education and knowledge for understanding to have a clear vision of where this party is going and the direction that we want our country to go in to empower our people. That's a great. That actually shows a big difference. And not only that, we didn't only say it, but we also placed that in black and white in our Constitution. Steve, if you have the opportunity, and you will have the opportunity, we are going to place this Constitution out to some of our delegates for them to read it before we take off. And you're going to be one of those people who are going to read it. And you're going to see anybody who puts their hands on this Constitution that does not want to go in the direction this vision is taking us in has got to be insane. This is all about empowering a nation.
Yes.
This is all about empowering Bahamians. And I just want to remind persons again, October 4th, we will be heading down to Rawson Square to the protest to demand answers and accountability from our government. We will never stop holding their feet to the fire. Also, November 18th, we will be having our convention at the Marriott Convention Center.
You have a convention too?
Yes.
Oh, yes, November 18th. This is going to take our party up another level, and we are also going to be revealing a next set of shadow ministers.
Wow.
So, Steve, we are growing. We're moving up. We just also to let the women know. I know we saw where we had the Men Alliance meeting, and I felt a little jealousy because I know we saw that was a massive meeting. So I want the women to know that we are looking forward to probably week after next in hosting our Women Alliance meeting. So look forward to that coming up. We are building and we are growing this organization one community at a time. We're on the move.
Oh, and one last announcement. Mr. Bain is going live tonight, and tune in. He'll be giving out free BTC cards, gift cards, and the tablets. Oh, he's giving out free tablets tonight. So please tune in. Who knows? You might win and get those tablets.
Yeah, let's get
Okay,
engaged.
bye-bye.
This is all about educating ourselves. We're going to ask questions concerning our country, the party's goal, our vision, our plan. Just ask questions.
Right. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
I
Steve.
appreciate the fact that you both were here today, and you brought some light to the whole matter of healthcare in the Bahamas, and we thank you for that. And of course, there are many other things that we can talk about, and we shall be talking about them in the
Yes.
not so distant
Yes.
future.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte Green. And
Thank you for
very
having us,
much,
Steve.
Dr. McIver. We appreciate you being here. All right.
Bye-bye.
Our show today has been brought to you by the folks who make it happen all the time. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, the dengue fever, the alert that's happening right now, and they want you to make sure you take good care of yourself. GAW, Abundant